Hello, guys, and thank you for making time to read my story. I see a lot of mothers here who like to read these stories, so I thought my story would be good for you guys. My story does have a bad mother-in-law, but somehow I ended up having a bad husband as well. I can't tell you guys how envious I become when I read beautiful stories about husbands showing their shiny spines to their mothers. Unfortunately for me, I had no such luck. Sometimes I really think that I'm just unlucky in marriage. I married my high school sweetheart at a very young age and had my son Ryder. We had a happy family till Ryder's father passed away after battling cancer for 2 years. Ryder was just 6 back then. It took me a while to grieve my late husband and get back into the dating scene. Somehow Jared made it seem like I could find happiness with him again. At the very beginning of my relationship, I had warned him. You know, Jared, I'm actually positive that we can have a good relationship and even marriage in the future. I really do love you, but there is something you should be aware of. As you know, Ryder's father is no longer with us, so he needs a father figure in his life. If we do end up marrying, you will have to take responsibility and be his second father. I know that, Lisa. I have thought about it a lot. I would be happy to be in his life. I can't have kids of my own, so this would be an amazing chance for me to be a father. You don't have to worry about anything. Thank you so much for saying that, Jared. You have no idea how relieved I am. I wasn't lying. I did love that man and didn't want to lose him. But had he given me the slightest hint that he didn't want my son in his life, I would have walked away. Ryder was my priority. Jared knew that as well. A year later, I introduced him to my son and they hit it off right away. Ryder actually ended up liking him too. Slowly, they developed a nice bond, or so I had thought. My son absolutely adored Jared and I thought all was well, so when he proposed to me, I said yes and married him. Unfortunately for me, I had made a bad decision, but I didn't know that yet. Now, the trouble starts shortly after our marriage. Jared's mother, Tracy, started to come over a lot, and she never really took to Ryder. She also didn't like me because I was damaged goods, in her words. She also said, "It's such a shame my son has to raise someone else's child. I wish I had intervened sooner and stopped him from making such a big decision." What seems to be the problem, Tracy? Jared and Ryder are really close, and they have a great relationship. Our family is absolutely perfect. Oh, of course you would say that. Jared didn't shackle you with a useless stepchild like you had. My poor son is wasting his money on someone who isn't even his blood. It's really such a shame. Tracy's words hurt me a lot. I did talk to Jared about it, but he always dismissed his mother as a dramatic woman. He kept assuring me and Ryder that he loves us, so what his mother says doesn't matter. We were stupid enough to believe that. My son was just a teenager, but I should have known better. I definitely should have known better than to allow Tracy to move in with us. What can I say? She was Jared's mother, and he had to take her responsibility when she got evicted. Since Jared didn't have a good job, he couldn't pay her rent and her bills together, so he discussed this with me, and Tracy moved in with us. I have never regretted making a decision so much in my life again. Tracy was the one who played a key role in ending my marriage. She moved in with us and started to slow poison Jared against Ryder. The changes were so subtle that I almost didn't notice. They were both cordial towards Ryder, but I could tell that Jared was acting a little cold towards my son. Ryder was also confused and a bit hurt. I was about to talk to Jared about that before something horrible happened. I was on my way back from the office when my son called me crying. Ryder was literally sobbing as he said, "Mom, I'm at Grandma's house. Tracy had kicked me out. She packed my bags and had them out on the porch before I came back from school. A friend dropped me off here because she wouldn't let me in." "What the hell, Ryder? Did you call Jared? Where is he?" He's at work, Mom. I called him and he just hung up on me. Tracy kept saying that they didn't want me in the house anymore and I wasn't welcome back. Ryder, listen to me. That is not true. No one can kick you out of your home like that. Stay with Grandma. I'm coming over. I raced to my mom's house and barely managed to calm down my son. He was a mess, and seeing him like that broke my heart. I was mad with anger and wanted to strangle Tracy. I told Ryder to stay with my mom so that he wouldn't have to witness the drama at home. I really wanted to yell at Tracy without my son hearing it. After comforting Ryder, I angrily drove home to confront my mother-in-law. As soon as I saw her in the living room, I stormed up to her and said, "Why is my son telling me that you've kicked him out of the house? Do you have anything to say about that?" "Yes, I kicked him out. He won't be staying with us anymore. My son can't have someone else's child living in our house." "Excuse me? Have you lost your damn mind? Jared is married to me, so Ryder is his responsibility too. Ryder is not some random stranger he's housing out of charity." "That means nothing, Tracy. Ryder is still Jared's stepson, so he is not my son's responsibility. I won't let him bankrupt himself by taking care of someone who doesn't even have his blood." "How do you think that would work? Since we are already married, Jared knew what he was getting himself into. I don't see why he would suddenly change his mind about something like this." "Too bad for you that he already did change his mind, Lisa. He's on board with me about kicking Ryder out. Why did you think anyone would take care of a child you had with another man?" "Wait. Are you saying that Jared knew about this and had actively encouraged you?" "Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Lisa. Your own husband doesn't want to keep your spawn. If you don't believe me, why don't you ask him directly, Lisa?" My mind was spinning with all the information that Tracy was throwing at me. First, it started with her stupid banter about how Ryder is not blood and shouldn't be my husband's problem. Then she told me that Jared agreed with her statements and supported her in kicking out my son. This was all news to me, since Jared never said something like this out loud to me. Hell, when we started to date, I made it clear that he would have to take Ryder's responsibility because my son's father was dead. Now, his mom is suddenly saying that Jared lied to me when he told me he was okay with this. Readers, for a moment, I felt very vulnerable. The possibility of my husband turning out to be such a cruel man absolutely destroyed my heart. Tracy looked all smug and was smirking at me when she said that Jared agreed with her. She seemed so confident that I started to have doubts about my husband. But instead of just jumping to conclusions, I decided to call Jared home immediately. The fact that he sounded nervous when speaking to me also didn't sit well with me. When Jared returned home, he avoided looking directly at me. At that point, I knew that Tracy was probably right about my husband, so in a stern voice, I said, "Jared, your mother has tried to kick Ryder out of the house today. Do you have anything to say about this?" "Well, what do you want me to say, Lisa?" "So, Tracy was right. She said that you support her actions and wanted this to happen as well. Tell me, Jared, why do you think kicking out my son is a good idea?" "Oh, come on, Lisa. We're tired of saying the same thing again and again. My son will not raise your stupid child. Some kid with a stranger's blood will not live with us." "You have already made your stance clear, Tracy. I wasn't talking to you at all. I was asking Jared, so you need to shut up and let him talk. Jared, tell me what you want." Jared was actually stammering a little and refusing to look into my eyes. He knew that what he was going to say would piss me off to a great extent. It also didn't help that I actually looked pretty mad and had my no-nonsense voice while talking. Jared was a little hesitant to speak out for himself, so his mother nudged him a little to boost his confidence. She said, "Jared, go ahead and tell your wife what you want. This is your house and you deserve to have a say in who stays here and who doesn't. You don't have to feel guilty for anything." "You were right, Mom. This is my house too, so I should get a say in who stays here. Lisa, I actually agree with my mom about kicking Ryder out." "Are you serious right now? You want to kick my son out of the house? Where the hell is this even coming from? This is insane." "Look, Lisa, I know he's your son and all, but he's not mine. You can't really expect me to have the kid in my house when he has no relationship with me. I don't see why I have to house him." "What the hell are you talking about, Jared? Ryder is your freaking stepson. You can't just throw him out and expect me to be okay with this. What's up with all the your son, my son bullshit? You agreed to take care of my son long before we got married." "That was before we got married, Lisa. Now that we have, I don't feel comfortable having Ryder around. Sure, we can be holiday parents or even weekend parents, but keeping him full-time is too much. He's becoming a burden. I don't see why I should make someone's child my problem." It would be right to say that I was completely flawed. This man, the man that I married, was telling me to become a holiday parent to my own son? Let me just remind you guys that this man promised to take care of Ryder like his own. Now he was telling me to drop my son off God knows where because he didn't want Ryder around full time. And this was after knowing full well for years that Ryder doesn't have another living parent. It was all so bizarre that I actually had to ask what he was thinking. I looked at Jared in disbelief and said, "Excuse me, Jared? Are you telling me to become a holiday parent to my own son? Do you even hear yourself? My son's father is freaking dead. Where do you even think I should make him stay the rest of the time? Why don't you just drop him off at your mom's? She's having a good time lounging around doing nothing. She should take care of Ryder full time now instead of making me host your son for free. Why won't you just ask his own grandma?" "You don't freaking host my son, Tracy. We are the ones who host you for free. You don't pay us a cent for anything, so just shut your damn mouth." "Hey, you can't talk to my mom like that. We agreed to let her stay with us for free. It was our decision. You cannot insult her for that now." I didn't know whether I wanted to laugh or cry. My husband was casually sitting on the couch and telling me that having his mooching mother in the house was perfectly acceptable, while my underage son was not welcome. It was so bizarre, and the irony of the situation was not lost on me. I said, "Exactly, Jared. You agreed to take care of Ryder and have him in your life. Now you have no right to backtrack and expect me to agree with you." "Oh, please, you can't compare these two things. This is different, Lisa. Mom has no one else, while Ryder has your family. Mom is right. Your mom should step in and take Ryder. He is her blood anyway. It's better that way." "You are absolutely insane, Jared. Do you even hear yourself? You are adamant about kicking my underage son out of the house. What kind of a man are you, Jared?" "The kind of man who won't be taken advantage of, Lisa. For years you have forced my son to take care of your useless child. Poor Jared had to play dad to some dead man's son while having no children of his own. Thank God I came here and drilled some sense into him." There it was. My doubts turned out to be true after all. It was Tracy who put these ridiculous ideas in Jared's head. But as much as I wanted to blame it all on Tracy, I knew that Jared was equally at fault. He readily went along with his mother's horrible teachings and changed his mind about Ryder. The things he said about Ryder being a burden and not his problem just made my blood boil. These were the words of a man who already had these feelings somewhere deep down in his heart. That's why it was so easy for him to say those words. I sighed, heaving, and finally said, "I knew this was all your doing. Thanks for the confirmation, Tracy. You did a good job turning my husband against me and my son." "I'm not against you at all, Lisa. I just don't want a stepchild in my home. It's not too much to ask. I deserve to be comfortable in my own home." "So, this is your final decision. You don't want to have Ryder in this house?" "Yes, Lisa. I don't want someone else's child in my home. This is my home and I deserve to be comfortable here. I am going to have a say in who stays here permanently, and Ryder is not one of them." At this point, I simply laughed. Yes, guys, I laughed a little because I realized the full irony of the situation. Jared was asking my son to leave the home while his mom stayed despite not being related to me by blood. Then he reminded me about how I promised him to take care of his mom, as if he didn't just break his promise to take care of my son. But in the end, what made things even more funny was the fact that he kept calling the house his. He kept saying that he didn't want Ryder in his home, but he might have forgotten that the house Jared and his freeloading mom were staying in was mine. Readers, you have read that right. The house was actually mine. It used to be my late husband's property, which he had willed to me. So after his passing, I was made the owner of the house. Technically speaking, this was Ryder's home as much as it was mine, and my current husband was acting like the house belonged to him and his mom. They didn't even have any right to decide who could and couldn't stay in my house. I stayed quiet and didn't remind them of this fact before because I wanted to see how far they could go. But now my patience was already running thin, and I knew I needed to put them in their place. I said, "It's funny how you keep saying this is your house, Jared. Did you just forget the fact that this house is in fact all mine?" "Well, yes, this house is yours, but we are married now, so this is my house as well." "Yeah, that's right. What belongs to you also belongs to Jared. Just because your name is on the deed, that doesn't mean Jared has no right to call it his home." "Lisa, this is a joint household now, and 2 people, that is me and my mom, don't want Ryder to be here. That has to count for something. We are a family, so you should consider our opinions." "It's funny how your mom is suddenly in our family and household while my son isn't. You do have some double standards, Jared. I wish I would have seen it sooner." "You can't blame me for not having some strange unrelated child in my house. No one would do that." I was already tired of hearing how Ryder was some strange child. It was seriously pissing me off and driving me over the edge. While Jared and Tracy were invested in making their stance and forcing me to kick Ryder out, I was making some decisions of my own. It was already quite clear to me that Jared wasn't the man I thought. He was not the sweet and caring man that my son had grown to love. No, this man had turned into an entitled monster. And I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. Now that I know how Jared really feels about Ryder, I wasn't going to have my son stay in a toxic household. So I looked at Jared and said, "You are right, Jared. Literally, no one would want to have someone else's child in their house." "Oh, thank God you're finally seeing how ridiculous that was. See, it wasn't so difficult to realize what was right." "Yes, I did make a huge mistake in the past. I really should have sat you down and listened to what you had to say." "I've been telling you for ages, but you wouldn't listen to me. But I don't mind that anymore. At least now you have understood your fault." "Yes, I have absolutely understood my fault. You two are right. I cannot have someone else's child living in my house. So what do you say, Jared? When can I expect you to move out?" Jared and Tracy both looked shocked when I said those words. I guess they hadn't expected me to say that to them. They had stupidly expected me to agree with them and throw my son out. I don't know what drugs they were on that made them so confident about their stupid thoughts. Well, they were not entirely wrong, though. I was going to throw out someone who isn't the homeowner's son. They just hadn't realized that it would be Jared. They looked panicked and said, "What are you talking about, Lisa? Why the hell would I move out?" "Well, you're not my son or related to me by blood, so I don't see why I should house you for free. Also, you are not my daughter either, Tracy, so you will be moving out with Jared too." "This is ridiculous, Lisa. You can't just ask us to move out. We are your family. Jared is your husband, and you can't kick out your own husband." "Yeah, I want my mom in the house. I contribute to the household, so I get a say in who stays here. You can't just threaten to kick me out. I'm your husband." "Yes, you are my husband, but you won't be one very soon. Do you really think I would stay married to you after all this? What kind of a doormat do you think I am? The only thing you will get after today are divorce papers." Jared was now in full panic mode. He realized that I wasn't going to give in to his and his mother's demands. Instead, I was actually making decisions of my own and doing what I think is right. So I was keeping my son in the house and kicking them out instead. Tracy and Jared were shocked at my declaration and somehow thought that they could change my mind. They said, Now, you don't have to be so dramatic. We were just making some suggestions. There's no reason to get so serious." "You were making suggestions by literally kicking my son out with his clothes? What kind of a joke is this, Tracy?" "These won't work on me anymore." Okay, we don't have to kick out Ryder. He can stay in the house. We won't mind. We take it back. He's a good kid anyway. We'll just adjust." "Oh, no. You don't get to make decisions anymore, Jared. You have no right to talk. My son doesn't need you to allow him to stay, but you do need my permission to stay here, which I am not giving to you. You two better have your bags packed because I will file for eviction and divorce tomorrow. I wouldn't sit around wasting time if I were you." Jared and Tracy started to reason with me. When calmly talking about it changed nothing, they resorted to begging and pleading. It was honestly a little satisfying after seeing my son cry his heart out. Their prayers and begging were all I needed to avenge my son. I know it sounds dramatic, but that's how I felt. Seeing my son so broken had my heart shattered to pieces. That is exactly why it was such an easy decision to make. The very next day, I hired a good lawyer who would fight my case. I had the divorce papers drawn and served very soon after. Also, the eviction papers followed. Jared and Tracy were pretending that everything was fine until they were hit with divorce and eviction papers. Then the tears and begging started again. I simply told them that it wouldn't work and not to bother anymore. I was counting the days till they would leave and I would have my son back in the house. Ryder didn't want to be around Jared or Tracy and was happy to be at his grandma's till they had left. So a month was up soon and Jared was forced to move out with his mum. He tried to beg and plead until the very end. In the days up to their leaving, Jared and Tracy ended up fighting between themselves. Jared blamed his mom for ruining his marriage while Tracy kept saying that this was all his fault. I did live through some noisy nights, but those had stopped when they left. Thankfully, I didn't have to wait for a divorce for long as well. Now I am happy being a divorced woman and living a good life with my son. Jared is barely scraping by while his mom moved to another state after he refused to pay for her expenses. So those two idiots are now miserable, and that was the best revenge I could get in my life. Hello guys, it's your girl Fia here. I'm a 43-year-old woman who has come to you with an interesting story. This story takes place a few years ago. When I was turning 40, I was lucky enough to marry into a wealthy family due to my husband, Tom. His father, Carl, was a businessman, and I actually met him through work. I was working at his father's company for a few years where Carl had been sort of my tutor. I left the company to pursue a relationship with Tom. We had a great relationship since we were both extremely successful and really had a great life. Years later, we got married. While Carl was supportive of me, Tom's mother, Melanie, never liked me. She always thought that her son should have married an heiress and not someone who was a simple worker. I always found her behavior odd, especially since she was a snob and looked down on people. I never confronted her because I didn't want to cause trouble. Well, that didn't turn out very well for me. It all started when I had to leave my job. I still remember the day when she and my husband started to berate me. They said, "I can't believe you would leave such a good job like that. You were in such a high position, and they were going to promote you so soon." Tom, that company was working me to the bone. You have seen how I lost sleep and my mental health declined horribly these past few years. I really needed to leave that job. "You should have hustled for a few more years. Only losers leave their jobs. Although I always knew that you just don't have it in you to hold a position of power. She did what she had to for her well-being. You two need to be more supportive of her decisions. Stop bothering her about her choices." Carl's words had stopped them at that point, but they restarted their banter whenever he wasn't around. Guys, believe me, my last job was slowly killing me from the inside. My mental health was so bad that my therapist was worried on my behalf. I had no choice but to leave the job. It's not like I wanted to be unemployed. I was trying to look for a job. I simply needed a breather. That's all. But my husband and mother-in-law didn't like that. The full extent of their narrow-mindedness was revealed a few weeks later. They randomly sat me down and said, "You will not be attending my father's retirement party, Fia." What? Why? Why can't I attend the party? Do you seriously have to ask? Your jobless status is an embarrassment to our family. We can't allow you to spoil the party. This is important for my dad. That's right. I don't want people gossiping about Carl's useless and jobless daughter-in-law. People need to only talk about his accomplishments and not gossip about you. But I really want to be there for Carl. He had been a mentor to me. I am his family too. You can't just push me away. Oh, please. I won't let you embarrass my husband at the retirement party. If you had any shame, you would have suggested staying back yourself. You better not show up and soil our elite status, Fia. Is this what you think too, Tom? Of course I do. Mom is absolutely right. No one wants a loser at a party like that. You better stay home. I won't ask you again. I couldn't believe what my husband and mother-in-law just did to me. They said that they were ashamed of me. The way Tom was behaving hurt me the most. He had turned into a horrible husband, and this incident just made things worse. I cried my eyes out that day and felt worthless. Tom didn't even comfort me and went to sleep instead. I was a mess, and my fragile mental health just couldn't take it. It was one of the darkest days of my life. Carl wasn't told of Tom and Melanie's plan. I was told not to approach Carl about this, so I didn't. I really didn't want to cause trouble and ruin his day, so I kept my pain within myself. Carl probably knew something was wrong but didn't push the issue. But a few days later he called me into his study to talk about something. Tom was busy watching TV while Melanie was off to a kiddie party. Carl took that opportunity to sit me down and said, "Fia, I need to talk to you about something important. I had a bit of a chat with my assistant yesterday, and he said that you were not invited to my retirement party. Is it true?" "Yes, Carl. I'm not actually invited to your retirement party. I guess your assistant figured that out after reading the guest list." "May I ask whose decision it was to exclude you?" "Let me guess. Melanie's behind this, isn't it?" Carl was looking at me with a very serious expression. This man has been in a cutthroat industry, and he definitely didn't rise to the top by being stupid. He had eyes and ears everywhere, and his attention to detail is just brilliant. No wonder both Melanie and Tom are so scared of him. Surprisingly, he had a very good relationship, and he had often remarked that he admires me for my handwork. So I never really feared him. I just had a lot of respect for him. That was one of the reasons why I decided to just tell him the truth. Besides, he was a receptive man and would find out the truth anyway. I had no moral obligation to protect Tom and Melanie after they were so cruel towards me. I said, actually, it was both Tom and Melanie who didn't want me at the party. They told me their decision jointly, so there's no doubt about that. Did they give you a reason why they excluded you from the party? This is a little bizarre, since I can't imagine not having my own daughter-in-law missing from my retirement party. Well, they did give me a reason, and I really don't know what to think about it. Apparently they didn't want me at the party because I am jobless now. You know how much they hated it when I quit my last job. They think that it would be embarrassing to have to tell everyone how I am jobless now and depend on my husband's income. Carl looked a little taken aback by what I said. To be honest, I probably had the same, if not worse, expression on my face when they told me the reason. It was simply too bizarre. But, knowing their twisted mind, they probably thought this would be the best way to go about it. Tom and Melanie are pretty snobbish people who think people with no jobs are losers and freeloaders. I mean, they said that straight to my face already. I also haven't forgotten about the fact that Tom and Melanie were being downright unreasonable when I said that I was going to leave my job. Carl remembered that as well and said, "I can't believe they're still holding on to their snobbish beliefs. It's just plain wrong. Melanie was always like that, but Tom has changed drastically over the years. I don't know where I went wrong with my son. I don't think you can be faulted for that, Carl. He almost always surrounds himself with snobbish people like him. Besides, he has a habit of showing off and doesn't like to settle for anything. I guess he wanted to have a wife earning big money, even if it mentally ended her. Tom is turning out to be an even worse husband than I had imagined. I don't even know why you tolerate that loser anymore. Is this the kind of marriage you wanted for yourself, Fia? Carl's words had me reeling back with a realization. For years, Tom had been acting very off, and his entitlement was rubbing me the wrong way. I tried my best to broaden his mental horizons, but he simply wouldn't back down from his snobbish thoughts. His mom's encouragement didn't help the case at all. After I left my job, Tom's change in behavior has been stark. He no longer regards me with respect and treats me like the dirt under his shoes. It was starting to wear me out, and I had some tough doubts about my marriage. So when Carl asked me that question, I said, I don't want this kind of marriage for myself, Carl. Ever since I left my job, Tom has been acting horribly towards me. It's like I don't even matter as a person anymore. I keep telling him that I will take a new job soon, but he has been calling me all sorts of names, like lazy, loser, and even gold digger. That's rich coming from him. Tom is the laziest man I have encountered in my life. That's why I don't let him meddle in my business as much. He never protested because he thought that ultimately he would take over everything once I retired. He does feel that way, Carl. I guess he thinks he doesn't need to try hard and to do well in life since he has your business. I can understand his thought process, but it's annoying how he doesn't do much, but still calls me a loser. Listen to me, Fia. Tom is an idiot. He doesn't deserve a hard-working woman like you. I supported you in leaving your last job because they were exploiting your skills and treating you badly. I have big plans for you, dear. You just don't know them yet. As for my son, he will regret treating you this way. One day his laziness and arrogance will catch up to him, and that day isn't very far away. Melanie will get her due deserts in time too. I really think I should separate from Tom, Carl. You have been like a father figure to me, and your words mean a lot to me. But I don't think I can tolerate this insane humiliation that Tom and Melanie are putting me through. I don't think I deserve this. I was serious about what I said. The more I thought about Tom's horrible behavior, the less I wanted to stay in the godforsaken marriage. I never asked him for anything, and have always been an independent woman. Hearing those idiotic jabs from Tom and Melanie have really put things into perspective for me. Tom only cares about keeping up appearances while he has no regard for people around him, even if the one getting hurt is his wife. I was done with his behavior. Carl's face also said the same thing. He said, The decision is up to you, Fia. I was hoping that having a strong woman by his side would inspire him to work harder and not sit around like an entitled prince. But Tom has already shown me that he is useless as ever. I will support you in whatever decision you make, Fia. It's time you put yourself first. I'm glad you support my decision, Carl. You have no idea how much it means to me to be heard and have my feelings validated. You are a great girl, Fia. I consider you like my own daughter. You have a bright future ahead of you, and I just know that. Thank you, Carl. I hope your retirement party turns out to be a blast. Tom and Melanie have made some great arrangements. I'm sure it will be a party to remember. I was a little sad that I won't get to attend Carl's retirement party. He had been a mentor to me in many ways, and I wanted to be there for him. However, Tom and Melanie had made it very clear that they wouldn't allow me into the party under any circumstances. So to avoid conflict, I gave up and accepted their horrible decision. But to my surprise, my father-in-law was not okay with that. He said, "Oh, no, I will have none of that. If you think you won't be coming to my retirement party, you are dead wrong. You will join the party as my guest. I will send you an invite through my assistant. Don't worry." What? Are you sure about this, Carl? Tom and Melanie are not going to like this one bit. Well, I don't care about what they like. I want you at my retirement party. I will not have them exclude you. You are family, just like they are. You will be my guest of honor. Just be there, Fia. I actually have a surprise for you and them. Who knows, you might actually end up enjoying the party and getting back at Tom and Melanie for their horrible behavior. Carl laughed when he said that. I was a little suspicious of what he was planning, but I trusted him completely. Like I said, he was like a father to me, and we always had a great relationship. To be honest, he sounded and looked positively horrified when he discovered what his son and wife were up to. Perhaps he did have a plan for them after all. As for me, I was going to enjoy whatever vengeance I could get without having to lift a finger. I do believe in karma after all. The retirement party was only a month after my conversation with Carl. During this month, I started to look for other jobs, but Carl suspiciously told me to wait for a little while before I started applying to random companies. I was again pretty skeptical about what he was planning, but went along with it. To be honest, I did need a break after suffering for years at that horrible company. I deserved some quality time alone without having to worry about work. Tom and Melanie, of course, had a huge problem with this. They regularly berated me for being lazy and not doing enough to get a job. One day they said, "God, I can't believe you're having the time of your life without worrying about getting a job. I bet it feels nice having a luxurious life on someone else's money." "What are you even talking about, Tom? I'm having fun on my own money. You know I have money saved up. I need a break before getting back to work. My mental health is already in shambles and you are just not helping." "Don't you dare talk to my son like that. He is justified in being worried. You are not earning a cent and vacationing like you are made of money. Soon that saved money will disappear and then you will sink your claws into his savings too." "That's your plan, isn't it, Fia? I know now that you are a gold digger. I wish I would have listened to Mom and married someone else. At least I wouldn't have been stuck with a loser like you." That evening, I met with a lawyer and started to prepare for a divorce. There was no way on earth that I was going to keep getting humiliated and do nothing about it. That day, I knew that my marriage had come to an end. I needed to get out of this horrible marriage immediately. I also communicated my decision to Carl, who surprisingly smiled and agreed with me immediately. With that sign of support, I prepared for the divorce and was just waiting to serve him. I wanted Carl's retirement party to go smoothly, so I waited to tell Tom about the divorce later. There were no expenses spared at Carl's party. Since he was a more or less renowned businessman in our city, the preparations needed to be big. Melanie has good taste, even though she is a snob and a downright evil woman, what? I know to give praise where it is due. Tom and Melanie had left with Carl while I joined later. That was because Tom and Melanie had expected me to listen to them and not attend. God knows what excuse they had given Carl for me not showing up. Anyway, I did show up when the party was in full swing. Tom and Melanie immediately looked annoyed when they spotted me. They walked up to me and said, "What on earth are you doing here, Fia? I told you to stay away from the party." "You have some nerve showing up here after we repeatedly told you not to come. God, what will we tell the guests now?" "We don't have to tell them anything, Mom. Very few people have noticed her." "Then you better leave before everyone spots you." Tom and Melanie were in the process of throwing me out when Carl's voice boomed behind them. While Tom and Melanie were whispering, Tom loudly welcomed me to the party. Tom and my mother-in-law actually looked surprised and nervous when Carl walked up to us. He said, "There is my amazing daughter-in-law, Fia. Where were you? Everyone's been waiting for you." "Oh dear, Fia hasn't been feeling well. She's just leaving." "Yeah, Dad. Fia needs to go back now. You can go talk to the guests while I see her out." Carl laughed when they not so subtly tried to throw me out. Their effort was remarkable, but Carl was smarter than them. I have no idea why they thought they could fool Carl with their ridiculous behavior. Carl actually said, "Fia looks perfectly fine to me. Besides, she can't leave. She's the guest of honor today." "What? Fia's the guest of honor?" "Yes, sorry I forgot to mention that. I know you and your mom didn't want to invite her, so I did. That was rude of you, by the way. Fia is an important guest today. I'm shocked that you think my own daughter-in-law cannot be at my retirement party." Melanie and Tom now looked very panicked. They probably had expected me to stay quiet and not show up to the party. But now they discovered to their horror that Carl knew what they tried to do. And even though he was smiling, we knew well enough that Carl was pissed. Melanie gulped and smiled nervously, trying to defuse the situation. She said, "Carl dear, you are misunderstanding us. I don't care what you two were thinking or why you didn't invite Fia to the party. She is my special guest, so she is not going anywhere." "But, Dad, she's an embarrassment to us. She's unemployed and doesn't have much money left in her account because she was busy trying to have a good life without a job. She's not worthy of being around our elite guests." I was told that her jobless status was a problem for you two." "Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm here to make that problem disappear. Everyone, listen up." Before any of us could make out what Carl had in mind, he actually clicked his glass and got everyone's attention. Everyone looked at us expectantly while waiting for Carl to speak. Tom and Melanie were looking kind of nervous as well. They felt reprimanded by Carl for not inviting me and were shocked to know that I was actually the guest of honor there. Just when I thought things couldn't get any better, Carl said, "As you all know, I have retired as the CEO of my beloved company. I'm pretty sure you all have been wondering about who will take my place now that I'm off to enjoy my life. Well, after pondering about things, I have come to a decision. I will be naming Fia the next CEO of my company." There were gasps and noises of appreciation going around the room when Carl made his declaration. I was dumbfounded by his words and thought I was dreaming. So this was why he insisted I come to the retirement party? This is what he meant when Carl said that Tom would get his just desserts very soon. He declared in front of all his work colleagues and rivals that I would be his new CEO. Carl was smiling at me while Tom and Melanie looked both shocked and angry. Tom said, "What? No, Dad. You can't do this. I'm supposed to be the CEO. You can't take that away from me. I deserve this position, not Fia." "Oh, really, Tom? What makes you think you deserve this position? You are a horrible worker and had problems with most people in the office." I asked around, and to no one's surprise, nobody wanted you as the CEO. Not even my own advisors or shareholders wanted you as a CEO. "Carl, this is not okay. You are being stupid by handing over the company to Fia. Tom is the future shareholder of your portion of the company. You can't just slight him like this." "That is where you're wrong. I've already prepared documents to transfer 50% of my shares to Fia. You two will inherit the other half." I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. Carl was going to give me half of his shares in his company. That was huge. This also meant that Tom would never have more shares than me. Mark was serious about it all. He never was a person who jokes anyway. Tom and Melanie absolutely went crazy when Carl made those statements. They said, "This can't be happening. You can't do this, Dad. I'm your son. I deserve all of your shares." "You have done nothing to deserve my shares, Tom. I'm giving you and your mom half because you are family. Fia is the only one around me who has what it takes to be a good CEO. I'm not leaving my company to a loser like you." "Fia, you need to tell Dad that this is wrong. Tell him that he should leave everything to me. Tell him that you won't be the CEO." "Why would I do that, Tom? If Carl wants to give me the responsibility, I will take it. Besides, you should be happy that I am finally getting a job. Guess I won't be a loser anymore. However, the same can't be said for you." Tom was absolutely shocked when I said that. Carl laughed at my words and told me that he knew I was ready to stand up for myself now. He wasn't joking when he said everything. He even showed everyone the papers that backed his promises. Melanie and Tom were furious and were almost on the verge of tears. However, neither I nor Carl backed down. In the end, they decided to stay quiet after Carl scolded them for ruining his retirement party. After we went back home, there was a huge fight about everything. Tom and Melanie even begged me not to take the position as the CEO. I had some choice words for them, and even Carl berated them for being so entitled and evil. It was then that I told Tom that I was going to divorce him. At first, he tried to change my mind. Then, he and his mom tried to use this to portray me as a gold digger. Carl laughed at that and informed them that he knew about my decision and it was made way before I even knew that he was making me the CEO. When everything failed, they resorted to begging again. Do you think I forgave Tom and Melanie? Do you think I simply moved on and tried to give my marriage another try? Absolutely not. I knew my worth and knew that I had fallen out of love with Tom. He didn't deserve me anymore. So, long story short, I divorced him. Carl is actually separated from Melanie and hasn't made a final decision yet. However, he seems to not want to be with her anymore either. I have started to work as the CEO of Carl's company and I am genuinely having a good time. Everyone liked me here, and I am able to use my skills to make big plans for the future. Tom works under me and has to begrudgingly become my subordinate. He still tries to get me back, probably so that he can have full control over his father's shares. But he can dream on, because I will never be taking him back in this lifetime. Losing the love of your life is an experience that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. I'm Gina, and I had the misfortune of losing my husband only 2 years after getting married. To be honest, I had a great life with him. I had just quit my job due to my risky pregnancy and was really looking forward to welcoming my daughter into our lives. But fate had other plans in mind. My husband got diagnosed with cancer when he was in the final stage. He struggled for 3 months before the horrible illness took him away from me. During this time, we had to move in with my mother-in-law, Ellen, and father-in-law, Luke. They tried their best to support us, although I was the one taking full care of my husband. Still, we were grateful to have them house us when we couldn't afford rent anymore. When my husband passed away, I thought that I could rely on them for emotional support. Well, that was only wishful thinking on my end. As soon as my husband's funeral was over, Luke and Ellen started to treat me horribly. They even called me and my unborn daughter names because they considered us burdens. I assured them that I would soon find a job and start contributing to the bills, but they just wouldn't listen. Guys, they were not hurting for money. All their bills were being paid by my sister-in-law, Kathy, who had a very good job. Still, my in-laws were adamant that I was a burden and didn't deserve their help anymore. They said, "You better start looking at other options because I won't have a stranger living with us." "I'm not a stranger, Luke. I'm your own daughter-in-law." "Well, our son is not alive anymore, is he now? So you are nothing to us anymore too." "Guys, I understand that you don't want me in your house. I promise I will move out after getting a job. Please just let me stay here for a few days until the baby's born. You know this is a risky pregnancy." "In that case, you better lose the child." My spine chilled at what my father-in-law said. I had expected Ellen to intervene and tell him off, but she seemed to agree with him. They told me how this would be the best option since they didn't want any responsibility for the child. Not that I was asking them for anything. Things escalated when they drove me to an abortion clinic while telling me that they would take me for a health checkup. I kicked up a storm and left on my own. When I went back to the house, I was a crying mess and severely traumatized by Luke and Ellen trying to force me to abort my child. When they returned home, they said, "Why the hell did you run away from the clinic? We told you that you absolutely have to have an abortion." "Why are you doing this to me? I cannot abort my child. I will never do that." "We don't care, Gina. We are not going to take care of you and your child. Our son is dead, so you are not our problem anymore. The baby I'm carrying is your granddaughter, guys. How can you even think about doing this? I am not getting an abortion no matter how hard you try." "In that case, you better see yourself out. We will not have a stranger and her unwanted child living with us." I felt like I was hit with a ton of bricks. It hadn't even been a month since my husband died, and my in-laws wanted to kick me out. Ellen held me by my elbow and dragged me out of the house before I could do anything. Besides, I was outnumbered 2-1 and didn't want to risk hurting my child. All I could do was stand on the porch and cry while I said, "What? You're kicking me out? But I have no money. I gave you whatever was left because you said you paid for some hospital bills out of your pocket. Where will I go now? We don't care what happens to you. You have no place in our lives now that my son is dead. You better take you and your kids somewhere else." You would do this to your own blood? This child is also your family, you know. I might be no one to you, but the child is your granddaughter. We never wanted a granddaughter anyway. We won't allow you to use your child to weasel back into our lives. If you don't want to abort your child, you can die along with it. Those were some of the last words that my mother-in-law and father-in-law spoke to me before closing the door on my face. I was already a crying mess and didn't know what to do. They kicked me out without even letting me get my clothes and stuff from the house. Hell, I didn't even have the documents that I needed. I felt so broken and helpless at that moment. I sat on the porch crying for about 20 minutes before Gina and Luke told me to leave. They said, "Why the hell are you still here? I told you to get off my property." "Please don't do this to me. I have nowhere to go. At least let me stay here until I get a job and move out." "You have already mooched off of us enough. It's time you leave and never come back. If you don't leave immediately, I will be calling the cops." "Things will get even worse when we call the cops on you. If you know what's best for you, you need to leave." That was what it took for them to get rid of me. I knew they were serious about calling the cops. I also doubted how much the police would side with me since my name wasn't on the lease. I was a sobbing mess and scared for mine and my kids' safety, so I did what I could in the situation and started to walk away. After walking for about 3 blocks, I knew what I had to do. I called Kathy in the hope that she would help me, but as soon as she answered my call, I started to bawl like crazy. My pregnancy hormones and emotions were all over the place and I couldn't keep it in anymore. Somehow, I told her where I was but couldn't say anything else. Kathy was so alarmed at my crying and immediately drove to get me from where I was. Kathy brought me to her home and comforted me. She tried to calm me down and reminded me that my excessive sobbing may end up hurting the baby. She did her best to make my tears stop and didn't push for any kind of information. She even made me some food and gave me a smoothie. And when I finally calmed down, she said in a somber voice, "Tell me what's going on, Gina. I cannot see you in this condition. Did something happen?" "Yes, Kathy, something big happened. I don't even know how to tell you everything." "Gina, you know that no matter what, I would support you. You are family and you have my niece in your belly. I'm going to make sure you are both okay. I promise I will do anything to help." "Will you still help me when you know that your parents are involved?" Kathy went still when I mentioned that her parents were involved in this. For a moment I thought that she was offended that I would dare to accuse them of something bad. However, she soon lost her stillness and looked at me with calm eyes. She said in a soothing voice, "What have my parents done, Gina? You don't have to be scared about offending me. I'm here for you no matter what. You need to tell me what's going on." "Kathy, your parents have kicked me out of their house. They didn't even let me take my clothes." "What? My parents kicked you out of the house? But I don't understand. Why would they do that?" "I never told you anything, but they have been trying to make me get an abortion. They intentionally drove me to a clinic and were going to force me to have an abortion. Thankfully, the staff there understood the situation and didn't go against my words." Kathy looked extremely surprised when I basically told her everything. I looked into her eyes and could see the shock and anger in them. She was quiet for a few seconds before she shook her head and said, "I'm having a hard time believing this, Gina. You need to tell me more. Why would they do this?" "They didn't want me to have the baby. They think that they will be on the hook to take care of my baby and pay for her things. I tried to tell them that I would get a job, but they wouldn't listen." Oh God, what is wrong with them? Didn't my brother leave you some money before he died? Yes, he did leave me some money, but they took it away, saying that he had some pending medical bills. I don't even have a penny on me now, Kathy. What in the world are you talking about? There are no pending medical bills. There never were. I paid all of his bills, so it doesn't affect my parents. They didn't have to shell out any money. So they tricked me into giving them the little money I had left. The mere thought made me cry and break down in front of Kathy again. If I hadn't met Luke and Ellen, I wouldn't have known how cruel the world can be. They took advantage of my vulnerable state and scammed me out of money. They had no problem stealing from their late son's wife, who was pregnant with their first grandchild. Those two were completely evil. They would do anything for money. That was proved time and again. Kathy sat silently beside me as I cried again. After some time, she said, "I'm so sorry, Gina. I had no idea they would do this to you. Everything happened so fast, I didn't remember to inform you about the bills." No, Kathy. Please don't apologize to me. I should thank you for taking care of all the medical bills. I would have drowned in debt if it wasn't for you. I did what any family would do, Gina. Although judging by my parents' behavior, I can't say the same for everyone. I always knew that my parents were a greedy bunch, but I never imagined them to go this far. I begged them to house me for a few days until I got a job. They didn't even grant me that small favor. They kicked me out and threatened to call the cops on me if I didn't leave their property. That's why I walked away and called you when I was a safe distance away. Oh, God, this is just plain horrible. Don't worry, Gina. You are not alone. You have me now. What my parents did is absolutely despicable. They will not get away with it. I promise you that, Gina. Kathy calmed me down while she called her parents. She said that she wanted to hear it in person. It wasn't like she didn't believe me. She simply wanted to see what excuses her parents would come up with. She said, "Mom, Dad, is it true that you kicked Gina out?" "What? Why would we do that, Kathy?" "Perhaps because she didn't get a freaking abortion like you asked her to. Am I right, Mom and Dad?" "Kathy, you are misunderstanding us. We didn't mean any harm. We were just—" "What? Tell me what you were thinking when you tried to make Gina get rid of your own granddaughter. What kind of monsters are you?" Kathy yelled at her mom when it became clear that they did everything that I told her about. Just hearing them trying to justify their actions was enough to break my heart all over again. Even after being shouted at by their own daughter, Luke and Ellen continued to make excuses and said, "Kathy, you will not talk to us that way. We were doing what was best for us. Our son is no longer alive, so we shouldn't have to bear the burden of his wife and kid. It's not fair on us." "Yeah, we have worked hard for this retirement. We already sacrificed many months taking care of our son. We don't have any obligation to take care of his family now. We have done enough already." "We deserve to enjoy our retirement too, Kathy. We worked hard for it. We cannot afford to look after a child right now. If Gina doesn't get an abortion, I'm sure she will shackle us with the child's responsibilities." "Your father is right, Kathy. You should listen to us and kick her out too. Trust me. If you let her stay, she will sink her claws into you and bleed you dry. Just leave her out on the streets and let her fend for herself. It will make her come to her senses." I couldn't believe that Gina and Luke were still trying to get rid of me and my child. They were actually trying to convince Kathy to kick me out and leave me to fend for myself. Their words made me tear up again, and I started to think that there was no hope left for me and my child. Just when I thought that all hope was gone, Kathy angrily said to her parents, "What on earth is wrong with you guys? How can you speak about your own daughter-in-law and grandchild like that? Also, what hard work are you even talking about? You retired early only because I gave you money for rent and bills. This has nothing to do with hard work." "We are grateful for your help, Kathy. That's why we're saving you from being financially crippled by a stupid woman and her stupid baby." "I knew Gina would end up on your doorstep and try to get your money. Listen to me, dear. You have no obligation to help out Gina and her child. Your brother is already dead, so you have no relationship with Gina anymore. Just get rid of her. Yeah, we'll even cover for you and tell everyone that Gina left on her own will. No one will know that we kicked her out. No, I will do nothing of the sort. I am not shameless and evil like you two. I can't believe you two gave birth to me. I am thoroughly disgusted by your behavior. Now it was time for Luke and Ellen to be surprised. Kathy had never talked to them in this tone. I could tell that my sister-in-law was extremely mad and was ready to wreak havoc on her family. She loved my husband a lot and always told me that I was like a sister to her. Kathy was proving to me just how much she meant those words. She yelled at her parents while they sounded flustered. What are you saying, Kathy? We are your parents, so you can't talk to us like this. Yes, we raised you better than that, Kathy. You better watch your tone. No, I will not watch my tone when I'm talking to such soulless people like you. Yes, you raised me right, but forgot to follow your own teachings. Honestly, I can't believe what you did to Gina. You two are disgusting. We are doing this to protect our assets, and yours as well. You are villainizing us unnecessarily. Oh, really, Dad? You want to protect our assets? Tell me, what assets will you have when I stop helping you financially? Now this was a big blow to Luke and Ellen. They had never imagined that their own daughter would threaten to pull out her financial assistance for me. I was also surprised that Kathy was willing to take such a stand for me. Luke and Ellen absolutely refused to believe what Kathy was saying. They said, "What are you talking about, Kathy? Are you threatening us?" "I'm not threatening you, Dad. I'm telling you what I will be going to do." "Are you saying that you will cut off your financial assistance for that stupid woman?" "She is not stupid, Mom, and yes, I will do exactly that. Gina and my niece need me more than you two, who are perfectly capable of taking care of yourselves." "Kathy, you can't do this. Listen to me." "No, I'm done listening to you guys. You have already taken advantage of me. I won't let you do that anymore. Gina and my niece will get my help now. Looks like you will have to come up with the money for your rent and bills now." Luke and Gina were stunned and weren't expecting their day to turn out horribly wrong. What started off as a mission to kick me out ended up being a trap for them to lose their own house. The duo were now trying to backpedal and said, "You're being very unreasonable, Kathy. Fine, if you want to help them out so badly, we will take Gina in. Just send her over. We will figure things out." "Yeah, we will manage somehow. Gina can come back and stay with us. We won't push her to get an abortion or something." "I don't know about that. Gina, what do you think?" Now, Kathy was letting me take the stage and set things in place. She was smiling at me and hinting that it was my time to make Luke and Ellen pay for what they did. So I calmed myself down and said, "I don't know what to think. Luke and Ellen behaved horribly with me. They didn't even apologize to me for their behavior." "You hear that, Mom, Dad? It's such a shame that you didn't even apologize." Okay, Gina, we apologize for what we tried to do. We take it all back." "Yeah, we're sorry, Gina. Why don't you come home so that we can make it up to you?" "I don't know, guys. I also can't get over the fact that you scammed me out of my late husband's money, even though Kathy had paid all the bills." "Oh, yes, we can't forget about that one. What was that all about, Mom, Dad? Why don't you hurry up and send money through PayPal?" Luke and Ellen were slowly getting trapped in their own sick and twisted plan. I took this opportunity to get back at them for all this stress and trauma that they put me through. And I wanted my money back as well. They didn't deserve to take my money when they did nothing for my husband whatsoever. Luke and Ellen immediately sent the money back after hanging up on us. Then they called Kathy back and said, "There, I sent Gina the money back. All is good now." "We can just go back to how things were. I was actually thinking about setting up a nursery in Luke's study. Gina can decide everything when she comes back." "Hold on, guys. Gina hasn't said if she wants to forgive you." "Oh, she'll forgive us. We're family after all. This is just a minor fight.
I'm sure we will come back stronger from this, isn't it, Gina? Luke and Ellen were now expectantly waiting for me to tell them that they were forgiven. The entitlement of those two horrible humans was really getting on my nerves. They thought that offering a mild apology and returning the money that they stole from me would be enough to forget everything. Well, they were dead wrong. I said, "No, you are not my family, and I definitely don't forgive you. In fact, I will never forgive you for what you tried to do." But we apologized and returned your money. Gina, your granddaughter would want us in her life. I am sure you want your child to grow up surrounded by family. Don't pull my child into your mess. My child doesn't need grandparents who didn't want her in the first place. My decision is final. I would have forgiven you for trying to throw me out, but I cannot forgive you for trying to make me get rid of my baby. There, problem solved, guys. Gina said that she doesn't forgive you. You didn't want to shoulder her burden. I will do that for you. In return, I will be terminating my financial contribution to you. Luke and Ellen absolutely freaked out and started to beg me and Kathy to change our minds. It was pathetic, but also satisfying to see them suffer the consequences of their own actions. They cried and even tried to guilt trip us, but nothing worked. Kathy told them that she would drop by the house to get my stuff, and after that she was done with them. Oh, she also said that she would be contacting the cops to accompany her so that Ellen and Luke could not withhold my belongings from her. As promised, Kathy got and retrieved my things. She did take a cop along with her who happened to be her boyfriend, who we didn't know about. Apparently Luke and Ellen still cried and tried to beg Kathy for another chance. I had already blocked them by then. Kathy also took the liberty of informing all her extended family about what happened. Let's just say that they were not impressed with my in-laws and decided to support me instead. In the months that followed up to my giving birth, I was surrounded by love and care. I also got a job through a friend of mine, and I'm due to start as soon as my kid is old enough to be left in daycare. I'm staying with Kathy for the time being and hope to get my own place soon. However, Kathy insists on me saving up so that I can just buy a small house and secure my future permanently. Her boyfriend has been a huge help too. I got a restraining order against Ellen and Luke after getting witnesses' statements from the abortion clinic, so they can't come near me and my child anymore. My baby daughter is now healthy, and so am I. She has my husband's dark eyes, which made me cry the first time I saw them. Kathy has been a huge help and has cut off her parents indefinitely. From what she told me, Luke and Ellen ended up moving to a small apartment and going back to work due to financial problems. Karma did come back for them, and now they are finding themselves in the position that they wanted me to be in. Hello guys, this is another fellow victim here who will share her story today. Don't worry, I got some good revenge against the one who wronged me. In this case, it was my husband. I will be calling everyone by fake names because some people in my story may get recognized. So I'm Aria and my husband is Darren. Darren and I happen to be what our friends called the perfect couple. We had a great relationship and a decent marriage, although Darren had some issues with me. After we got married, Darren refused to take me to his work parties and didn't let me mix with his friends as well. He used to work in a very high position and had a lot of posh friends and clients. Meanwhile, I was a small business owner, although slowly expanding it to the intermediate level. Plus, I worked at a charity foundation, which Darren also didn't like. All in all, he felt like I wasn't good enough for his circle. I have some issues with self-esteem and self-confidence, so his behavior used to hurt me. However, I also wasn't used to standing up for myself, and I don't even know why I stayed with him for so long. Anyway, back to the story. Let me tell you how I ended up divorcing Darren. It all started when I got back in contact with a school friend of mine. Her name is Lena, and her husband Jeremy was a very successful businessman. I mean, he is a literal millionaire. Lena was one of my closest friends in school. Life happened and we lost touch. However, we reconnected after meeting her at the school reunion. She ended up inviting me to a big party that her husband was organizing. I immediately agreed and told her that Darren had been wanting to meet Jeremy for work purposes. Lena even said that she would put in a good word for us. When I told my husband about it, he was overjoyed. He said, "This is my chance to shine, Aria. I can tell that this invitation is a sign from God. I'm going to get that promotion offer, making Jeremy our official client." "I'm so happy, Darren. Lena said that she would help us out as well. Apparently Jeremy wants to meet us and get to know us. Lena and I were very good friends. This party will change my life for the better, Aria. I just know it." I was really happy that I could help Darren out. However, he showed no appreciation for me. What he tried to do was even worse. Just a few nights before the party, Darren walked up to me while I was trying on the dress I bought for the party. I was really excited to show him the dress and earn his compliment. I went and bought a dress because I am not a very dressy girl. I mostly have work formals and casuals in my closet. I knew well enough that none of those options would suit a grand party like the one we were supposed to attend. So I got a dress ordered online. It got delivered that day and fit perfectly. I felt so beautiful in the dress that I called my husband over to see it. Darren had always had a problem with me not dressing up more, so I thought this time he would be proud of me. But his reaction wasn't something that I was expecting. He looked blank and said, "Why did you suddenly buy a dress?" "I bought the dress for the party, of course. Do you like it? I think I look really good. You always complain that I don't dress up. How do I look now?" "Well, you look decent, I guess. But there was no reason to buy a dress for the party." "Why not, Darren? I know it's just one party, but I haven't been to anything this big before. Can't look out of place now, can we? I want to look my best." Darren made a face but didn't say much. He also didn't properly compliment the dress. His reaction was making me feel insecure, and I started to doubt myself. Like every time, Darren was making my confidence dip dangerously low. Still, I straightened my back and said, "Is there a problem with the dress, Darren? Do I look bad?" "I doubt that a dress will make you blend in with them, Aria. Don't you think it would be a good idea for you to attend this party? I don't know what you'll do there." "Of course I'm going to the party. Lena would be expecting me there. I am also very excited to meet her husband." "You do know that he's a millionaire, right? This party is going to be filled with all sorts of high-profile people. I don't think that is something you would like." "Why won't I like it, Darren? How do you know that I won't end up making friends there? I'm pretty sure I will be able to hold my own with them." "Well, I don't think so, Aria. You are just not their type. All the men there have smart and beautiful wives, and I doubt you'll be able to blend in with them." "What on earth are you trying to say, Darren?" "You know well enough that most of the men there have trophy wives. The others who don't have the best-looking wives have partners who work in high-paying jobs and are on a different status altogether." "Exactly, Darren. I am pretty sure there will be people who would be interested in talking about anything other than beauty. I can hold my own in that segment too. I can always talk about my business and my life." "Oh, please, Aria, don't tell me you're planning to tell them about your stupid business. I'm sure you will bore them with all your talk about your stupid business." I felt hurt and slighted when Darren said those words. Firstly, he indirectly called me ugly, and then he belittled my business. He had always been somewhat disinterested in my business, but this was the first time he openly called it stupid. He had his concerns about me not making enough money through it, but those comments had died down recently. Now, I understood that it was probably because he was busy with work and didn't have time for me. But now, When we had to go somewhere together, these thoughts were back in his head. Instead of giving up completely or causing a scene, I calmly said, "You might find my business uninteresting, but that doesn't mean everyone else will find it that way. Besides, you do remember that I work at a charity foundation as well. Going there will help me get sponsors." "You are not being serious right now, Aria. Are you telling me that you will be trying to get sponsors for your charity foundation at the party?" "Yes, it is a great opportunity to meet new sponsors there. Like you said, there'll be a lot of rich and influential people there. I can't miss that chance, and I doubt I will attend another party like this in the near future." Darren closed his eyes and released an exasperated sigh. He looked like he was holding back and trying not to yell at me. I was honestly starting to feel weirded out by his reactions. It was just downright bizarre now. I had no idea what his problem was and why he didn't want me with him. I didn't ask anymore because he stood up and left the room. Again, his entire reaction and behavior were both confusing and irritating. I couldn't even feel the happiness from the dress anymore. My mood was ruined, and I started to have a lot of self-doubt again. Guys, I didn't let Darren's words get to me. In the past, he has excluded me from parties because he always thought that I wouldn't enjoy them. I begged him to take me to at least one place, but for some reason he always left without me. This was the first time that I was going to attend a party with him. I wasn't going to let my insecurities get the best of me. Besides, when I talked to Lena about them, she just laughed and said, "You and your husband are thinking too much, Aria. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun at the party." "But will anyone even want to talk to me? I'm not a high-profile guest like the rest of your guests. I don't want to be too out of place and become a sore spot at your party." "Again, you are worrying too much, Aria. Nothing like that will happen. I will be there, so you have nothing to worry about." "But Lena, you can't be with me all the time. This is your party and you are the host. I'm sure you will have to meet and greet everyone. Darren usually goes off and does what he wants. I don't want to be left alone with no one to talk to." "We are not snobby and uptight people, Aria. In fact, I have a lot of friends who are dying to meet you. I told them all about your business and charity foundation. They're really interested in knowing more. Jeremy has been hinting at becoming a sponsor too. You absolutely need to be here." That was all she needed to say to make me come to the party. Getting sponsors for my charity was very important to me. It was the main reason I wanted to be there at the party in the first place. Now that I knew that a literal millionaire had expressed interest in my foundation, nothing was going to stop me. Besides, Lena was a good friend, and I knew she would try to hook me up with some sponsors. I mean, she even said that her friends seemed to be interested to know more. I knew that I had to take the chance. I was going to deeply regret it if I didn't go to the party. Days passed, and Darren didn't quite bring up the party anymore. He did make some weird comments about how I should rethink my plans and really see how my going to the party would be useless. I straight up ignored these comments or gave one-word replies saying that I had already thought things through and will be going. Eventually, the day of the party arrived, and Darren was a little annoyed at me for not backing down. He looked a little irritated as he went to get the car out. However, when I climbed into the car after he pulled it out of the driveway, he looked normal. I stupidly thought that maybe he finally saw how unfair he was being. Due to Darren's improved mood, we have some light conversations in the car about mundane things. We were, almost 30 minutes till the party when Darren suddenly pressed his brakes. The car stopped at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. He then told me to go get him a soda from the shop at the gas station while he got some gas for the car. I didn't think anything of it and went to grab the soda. I even got some candies for him as a treat. I went back out and saw that Darren was done getting gas and was waiting. However, when I tried to pull the door handle, I saw that it was locked. I was very confused and kept trying to open it. I banged on the glass lightly, and Darren rolled down his window a little. I said, "I can't open the door, Darren. I think it has been locked from the inside or something. Can you open it so that I can get in?" "I don't think so, Aria. I know that the door is locked because I'm the one who locked it, and I'm not opening it for you." "What? But why? Why are you doing this? Is this a prank? Don't do this, Darren. We will be late for the party." I was really confused as to why Darren was behaving this way. He is a serious man and doesn't like joking around, so it was unlikely that he was pranking me. However, it was the only sane reason I could think about. There had to be an explanation for why Darren was being like this. However, much to my dismay, Darren confirmed that he was serious. He said, "You really should have taken the hint and stayed at home. I kept dropping hints for days, but you were adamant about going. If you had listened to me, I wouldn't have had to do this." "What on earth are you saying, Darren? Are you telling me that you don't want me to go to the party? This is ridiculous." "You are right about the party, Aria. I don't want you to go to the party, let alone with me." "What is the problem, Darren? Why are you so adamant about not taking me there? What have I ever done? What is this about?" "Listen to me very carefully. I'm going to a very important person's party. Jeremy is more than your friend's husband to me. He is a potential client, and I don't want to be seen with you because you are embarrassing." I took a few steps back as I felt the weight of his words hit me in the face. My husband, the man who I thought loved me unconditionally, was telling me that I was an embarrassment to him. So in the course of a week, he called me plain, average, boring, unsuccessful, and embarrassing. My mind was crowded with his negative depiction of me, and my self-esteem took a hit. However, I was more hurt than anything and couldn't believe that my own husband would say these things about me. I had tears in my eyes when I said, "You think that I am embarrassing? What are you even saying, Darren? What has gotten into you? I didn't ever do anything to make you embarrassed." "Oh, no, Aria. It's not like you never embarrass me. I simply didn't give you a chance to do that. That is exactly why I don't want to take you to my work parties and such." But there has to be an explanation, Darren. What have I ever done? Why are you so embarrassed with me?" "Really, Aria, I have to tell you that as well. Where do I even start? You are just a plain, average-looking girl who doesn't belong in these circles. Then you keep talking about your stupid business and your irritating charity foundation. It's just straight up embarrassing." "So you think me working for charity is embarrassing? And you think I am plain, useless woman who hasn't done anything in life? Someone who's not worthy of your status? Is that what you are saying?" "Those are your words and not mine. I can't change my wife, but I can sure save my reputation by not taking her to upscale parties. Now, I have had enough of this chit-chat. Step away from the car because I will be leaving. As I said, this party is important and I don't want to be late and leave a bad impression. You just text your friend that you won't be coming. I'll tell her that you're sick." Darren said that and drove away. It was so quick that all I could do was watch. Besides, after the things he just told me, I wasn't sure I wanted him to go to the party anymore. I was so much in shock that I didn't know what to do. I sat down on a bench at the gas station and started to cry. All my pain kept pouring out of me in the form of tears. I was so hurt and felt so humiliated that I didn't know how to calm myself down. I realized that Darren was hiding me from others because he was embarrassed by me. I was being cast aside and hidden for years because he didn't think I was on his level or worthy enough to mix with the elite society. The fact that the love of my life would demean me so much was a punch to my gut. I was sitting at the gas station for a total of 15 minutes. Throughout this time I was a mess, but also had to keep my senses peeled. Darren had literally dropped me off in the middle of nowhere because we were driving down a highway through the woods. It was a completely unsafe location, and I didn't even see many cars pass by. I sat there wondering about my life and lamenting what I knew was the end of my marriage. However, after a while, I realized that if I didn't go to the party, I would be proving Darren right. I was the original guest at the party, and Darren was only a +1. He had the remarkable idea of deserting me and going there all by himself. He thought he could humiliate me and then go enjoy a party where he wasn't even supposed to be. Well, he was wrong about that. I wasn't going to just sit here in an unsafe area and wait for him to come back for me. Oh no, I was going to take matters into my own hands. I quickly pulled out my cell phone and called Lena. When she picked up, I said, "I'm so sorry for disturbing you, Lena. I had to call you because this is urgent." "Oh, it's not a problem at all, Aria. Most of the guests haven't even arrived yet. Tell me what's wrong. You don't sound good." "My husband has just abandoned me after 30 minutes from the party venue, Lena. I'm standing at the gas station somewhere on the highway." "What? Why did he leave you in such an unsafe place?" I quickly briefed Lena on what happened and even choked up a few times. Lena patiently heard what I said, and taking time out from her own party. I felt terrible, but I also needed to get out of this situation. After I told Lena everything, she was pretty angry at Darren and said, "I can't believe the audacity of that man, Aria. I don't know why you married such a fool. Don't you worry, I'm sending you a car right now. I will give you my driver's phone number as well." "Thank you so much, Lena. I'll go stay inside the shop till your driver arrives. You have been such a huge help." "Oh, please don't even mention it. I just want you to reach the venue safely. As for your husband, I think you should take some action against him. This was just horrible." "I know, Lena. I'm already doing a lot of thinking. There is no way I will ever forgive him for this. He can just leave me while he goes and enjoys the party." "Oh, Aria, he will never get to enjoy the party now. You were our guest, remember? Your husband is only a +1. He won't be allowed inside the venue without you. I would have let him in if you genuinely couldn't come out of your own will. But now that I know the truth, he will never get in. That is, until you say the words." "You know what, Lena? Let him stay outside. He doesn't deserve this invite. For once in his life, I will put him in his place." I was raging mad now, and Lena just laughed. She was really glad that I was standing up for myself. I hung up and quickly sent her my location. Her driver was at the gas station within 20 minutes. Man, he drives really well. I got into the car, and as I was nearing the venue, I got a call from Darren. It was almost an hour since he had dropped me off at the gas station. I picked up the phone knowing full well why he was calling. Darren said, "Why is the security at the venue not letting me in? Did you send me the right QR code?" "Yeah, Darren, I did send you the right QR code. That is not the reason why you have been denied entry." "I don't understand. They're telling me that I cannot enter the venue on my own?" "They're right about that, Darren. What makes you think you can attend the party without me? You were not the one who got invited." "What do you mean, Aria?" "I mean that you never got an invite. The QR code you scanned was my invite. You were meant to be my +1. You never got a real invite to attend the party on your own." Darren was silent for a few seconds before he started to speak. I quickly hung up because I was already at the venue. The car I was in was a shiny new BMW, so I arrived at the party in style. When I walked up to the main entrance, I saw Darren having an argument with the guards. When he saw me, he quickly came up to me and said, "There you are, Aria. I was waiting for you. Let's go inside. Now that you're here, there won't be any problems with me going in." What makes you think I will go in with you? Last I remember, you intentionally stranded me at an unknown location so that you could attend this party on your own. I made a mistake, Aria. Let's not drag this out right now. You're here, so everything is well. Let's just go in and do our work. No, Darren. I will go on and do my work that you think is boring and embarrassing. You will stay outside or go back home. No, Aria, please don't do this. Jeremy is an important client to me. I can't miss this opportunity, Aria. What makes you think Jeremy will be your client after this? Lena knows everything, and I'm pretty sure she will tell Jeremy not to do business with you. Darren had never considered this to happen. He was so sure that he could go to the party that I got invited to and then charm my friend's husband into being his client by using my name. Well, he got to do nothing of the sort. He begged and pleaded with me. He even said that he would lose his promotion if he lost Jeremy as a client. Did I give in to his demands as always? Well, no. This time I did what I could do to stand up for myself. I entered the venue solo and denied him entry as a +1. Security was already informed by Lena, so they didn't allow Darren in after me. In the end, he had to drive back home. I had a blast at the party and went home in Lena's BMW. Darren was already home and looked ready for an argument or an apology. I didn't get to find out because I told him up front that we would be separating soon. While Darren took in that shock, I shut myself in my room. After several rounds of crying and begging, Darren learned the hard way that behaving like a bad husband would make him a divorced man. Yes, we got a divorce after all, and yes, he did lose the promotion as well. Meanwhile, I made some great contacts at the party and now regularly get called for almost all of their events. I made some great friends and colleagues while also getting out of a toxic marriage, all at one party. Hello everyone here. I'm Mayra. I'm sure most of you readers have had the fortune of being blessed with amazing partners. I thought my husband Tyler was an amazing partner too, before the reality hit me with full force. He used to be a loving boyfriend, but everything changed after marriage. I discovered that he was a greedy man and he often made me buy him expensive things. Jay had a better job than him and he barely contributed towards anything. I should have left a long time ago when he started to get financially and emotionally abusive. However, a surprise pregnancy and my undying love for Tyler made me stay. Guys, it was a huge mistake. I won't even get into the details of how cruel and uncaring Tyler was during the pregnancy. He was of absolutely no help at all. Since I don't have any family, I heavily relied on my father-in-law Max and mother-in-law Vivian for support. Unlike many in-laws, they were actually very nice people. It was due to their help that I was able to safely give birth to my baby. However, things took a dark turn after my baby was born. I had a home birth and natural delivery. So Tyler and I didn't have to go through the hassle of hospitals. He didn't want me to spend money on hospital bills anyway. That would have been a red flag if I wasn't so blind in love. Because I ignored that, this is what happened after I gave birth. My baby was born at the break of dawn, and by night, Tyler had changed from being happy to just uncaring. I was nursing my baby when Tyler walked into our room and said, "Why are you still up with the baby? You need to go sleep right now. I'm sure your boss won't tolerate you being late for work." "What are you talking about, Tyler? I don't have work tomorrow. I'm on maternity leave." "Who said you get to have maternity leave? I'm sure I made it pretty clear that you need to get back to work as soon as possible." I really couldn't believe that I was having this conversation with my husband. Yes, he had been pushy about me going back to work soon, but it hadn't even been a full day since I gave birth. My hormones were already all over the place, and with a crying baby, my emotions were high. Not to mention the fact that I had a natural birth and was super exhausted. So I was very irritated by Tyler's words. I said, Tyler, this is not funny at all. You need to keep your jokes to yourself, at least for a few days. What makes you think that I'm joking? Am I laughing, Myra? Who told you this is a joke? Are you stupid or something, Tyler? I literally gave birth today. I can't go to work tomorrow. Why? What seems to be the problem? I understand why you took maternity leave. You didn't want to work in case it ended up hurting the baby. However, the baby's born and safe now. I don't see why you shouldn't go back to work. Never in my life had I ever thought that my own husband would be so stupid. I thought that he knew what a terrible condition mothers can be in after giving birth. It was downright cruel to joke about this, let alone suggest something seriously. Now my emotions were starting to get the best of me, and I started to cry a little. I said, "Yes, the baby has been delivered, but my body has been through a lot. It is almost impossible for me to go to work tomorrow. You can't expect me to do this." All I'm hearing are excuses, Myra. You are fit enough to move around, so you are fit enough to go to your desk job. It's not like you had a C-section or something. I don't understand how you can be so dense about the human body. I literally pushed the baby out of me. Tyler, I need to recover. I will join as soon as I feel better. I don't understand why you are pushing me to go to work. It just doesn't make sense. I was really at the end of my wits. With a crying baby and a cruel husband, I felt like my life was becoming a nightmare. I was exhausted, and Tyler wasn't making things any better. I should also mention that during this time, women tend to feel vulnerable, so they need a lot of support. But my husband was pushing me to go back to work and treat childbirth like an everyday bruise. It was annoying and disappointing. I also didn't understand why Tyler was so insistent on me returning to work. When he told me the real reason, I was shocked to my core. Tyler looked angry when he said, "You forgot about it, didn't you? Throughout this pregnancy, you only did what you wanted and had no regard for me. I made it clear that I need a new car by next month. If you continue to sit on your butt and be lazy, I won't be getting my car anytime soon." Wait, what? You want me to go back to work a day after giving birth because you want a car? Are you kidding me right now? How many times do I have to tell you that I am not joking? I showed you the car and everything. I know how much you have in your bank account right now. It's just not enough. You need to get back to work tomorrow. Staying on unpaid maternity leave isn't an option for you. I just blinked and didn't say a word then. I was having a hard time processing what Tyler just demanded. In my head, I was still hoping that this was just an elaborate joke. The man I married couldn't be so careless and greedy. But unfortunately, it wasn't a joke at all. Tyler was dead serious, and his expression said as much. I calmly looked at him and said, "In case you have forgotten again, let me tell you, I just gave birth. I am in no position to get back to work right now." You will stop using that excuse right now, Myra. Don't try to think that I will let you gaslight me into anything. You are fine enough to walk around, so you are good to get back to work. I am not going to keep engaging in this conversation anymore. You are not thinking straight, and I don't know what has gotten into you. I'm already very tired, so just let me be. We will talk about this tomorrow. Listen to me very carefully, Myra. You can talk about this as much as you want. Just know that you are not changing my mind or getting out of work. You will go to work tomorrow, or God help me. I stuck to my decision not to engage him anymore, so I didn't bother with a reply. I was very angry and hurt. Tyler's insensitive thoughts were like a huge blow to my heart, and I totally needed a break to get my anger in check. Unlike him, I didn't want to shout and yell at him out of anger. Words hurt, and I didn't want to hurt my husband despite the absolute cruelty he was showing me. Tyler left the room and slept in the guest room that night. He didn't even want to help me with our newborn anymore. For some odd reason, he seemed mad at me when it should have been the other way around. I quietly stayed in the master bedroom, softly crying so that I wouldn't wake up my newborn. What should have been the happiest days of my life were turning out to be an absolute nightmare. I was not ready to face the real prospect of my marriage failing due to Tyler's insensitiveness. While I was hoping Tyler would change his mind and come to his senses, he was making arrangements of his own. That's why I got a confused call from my mother-in-law very late at night. She said, "Hey, Myra, are you still awake? Is the baby doing well?" "Yes, Vivian, the baby's fine for now. You don't have to worry." "You don't sound very well, Myra. What's going on? I got a call from Tyler and he said that he wants me to babysit tomorrow." "What? We didn't decide this, Vivian. I have no idea why he said that to you. I'm doing well with the baby as of now. I don't understand this either, Myra. Tyler kept saying that you would be returning to work tomorrow, so he needed me to watch the baby. Don't tell me you really plan to do that. You just gave birth and you need to rest." My day just kept getting worse, and Vivian's phone call was clear proof of that. I couldn't believe that Tyler had actually called his mother to come and watch my newborn. He was still insistent on sending me back to work. It was downright bizarre, and even Vivian was really surprised at Tyler's request. She was starting to have doubts that I was the one insisting on going to work, so I corrected her and said, "I'm not going back to work tomorrow, Vivian. Tyler thinks that I will, and really wants me to go to work tomorrow, though." "What are you talking about? Tyler's asking you to get back to work? Is he dumb or something? This doesn't make sense." "We had an argument about this already, Vivian. I don't know how to get this through his head. My son is an idiot if he thinks you can go to work tomorrow. God knows what has gotten into him. Perhaps he's overwhelmed by the birth and has lost his mind. Who knows? I'm just glad to know that you are not listening to him." I assured Vivian multiple times that there was no way I was going back to work. Vivian seemed a little concerned, but was relieved when I said that it was simply not happening. I didn't give her the full picture because I didn't want to include her in our mess as of now. Tyler was her son, and I didn't want to spoil his image in front of his parents, so I didn't tell Vivian the reason why Tyler was being so pushy. Vivian also didn't press, but said, "You will let me know if something is wrong, right? I don't want you to put a strain on your already exhausted body. You need time to recover and bond with your child." "I know that, Vivian. Not once have I entertained the idea that I will go to work tomorrow. It's simply not happening." "Sounds like you know what to do for your health. Still, if Tyler ends up being pushy or annoying, give me a call. Max and I are just a call away, dear. Don't be afraid to tell us if you need help." I thanked Vivian for her words and ended the call. The call left me a little sad, and I ended up crying again. Even Tyler's own family were being so caring towards me, while my own husband wanted me to jeopardize my health for a stupid car. It was just unbelievable. However, that night I also started to see how abusive Tyler was getting. His demands never ended, and every time he wanted me to buy him something, but he never bothered with gifts and never celebrated my birthday either. I never asked for big things and would have been happy with just a cake. Somehow, he never bothered with that either. Tyler was also becoming emotionally aloof and rarely said 2 kind words to me. I stayed put because I really loved him and always made excuses for him. When my surprise pregnancy happened, Tyler didn't even seem all that happy and was aloof during the entire pregnancy. I mean, I was the one who did most of the shopping for the baby, too. I asked him to split, and he asked for receipts, which I provided. However, he never got around to paying the money, and I didn't want to keep pushing him. All these things were slowly adding up, and I didn't know what to do. I was hopelessly praying to God that Tyler would wake up the next day and realize what an idiot he was. I didn't get my wish, guys. I was only deluding myself. Tyler didn't magically wake up and get back to his senses. He did wake up fairly early, but what he did next absolutely floored me. He angrily barged into my room and immediately removed the covers from me. I was already in deep sleep after being exhausted from childbirth and being up with the baby at 5 a.m. I barely slept for an hour or so before Tyler interrupted my sleep. I was sleep deprived and my brain was super foggy, but Tyler didn't pay any heed to it. He said, Why the hell are you still sleeping? It's almost 7 a.m. If you don't hurry up, you'll be late to work. What are you doing, Tyler? I barely slept last night. I need to rest. Why would you do this? Are you deaf, woman? It's almost 7 a.m. You need to shower, make breakfast, pack lunch, and go to work. Stop being so lazy and get up. The fog in my brain slowly cleared, and I was immediately pissed at Tyler. Not only did he interrupt my sleep and wake me up in the worst way possible, but also he demanded that I go to work. He hadn't come to his senses after all. He was still talking about me going to work. I angrily stood up and said, "Are you serious right now, Tyler? What is wrong with you? I told you I am not going to work today. I still have 4 weeks of maternity leave left for me." "And I told you that you won't be taking maternity leave anymore. You already wasted 4 weeks' worth of salary by taking maternity leave before the birth of our baby. You won't be doing any of that anymore." "You are acting crazy right now, Tyler. You can't force me to go to work. Your expectations are getting out of hand. I need to rest after the birth. What you are asking of me is downright inhuman." "I don't want to hear your horrible excuses, Myra. The baby is out already, so you can't bank on your pregnancy excuse anymore. Now, I will say this nicely for one last time. Get ready and get to work. If you miss even an hour's worth of wages, you are going to pay dearly. I am going for a walk. When I come back, you better be ready for work and have the food for me." Tyler threatened me not so subtly and left for his morning walk. I was still pretty horrified by his behavior. Also, the lack of sleep along with the added emotional and physical stress was causing me to feel very sick. Again, my emotions got the better of me and I started to cry. After nursing my baby, who also woke up from the commotion, I went to prepare breakfast. Tyler looked angry and I was actually getting scared of him. I knew how cranky he could get after his morning run, so I got his breakfast ready as soon as possible. I even made his favorite salad so it would lighten him up and make him ready for a conversation. Then I made the table nicely and waited for him. Tyler came back from his morning run and gave a nasty look while he went for a shower. I was patiently waiting for him, hoping that he would have a calm conversation during breakfast. Even typing this out feels surreal now. I don't even know why I tried so hard when Tyler was being nothing but abusive. I was still desperately trying to save the marriage. I still held on to the hope that Tyler would listen to me. Well, let's just say that hope was crushed in the most horrific way. Never in my life had I imagined how that day would go. There I was, one day postpartum, sitting at the dining table with my husband's favorite food and waiting for him to talk to me like a sane person. Turns out I should have just grabbed my newborn and ran. I was at the breakfast table bracing myself for a conversation when Tyler arrived. He looked even more pissed when he saw me at the dining table. He took a menacing step towards me and said, "Why are you dressed like a beggar and why are you still in the house?" "What is wrong with you, Tyler? You cannot speak to me that way." "I will speak to you in whatever way I see fit. You will keep your nasty mouth shut and do what I ask you to do. Get up, get dressed, and leave." Tyler's insistence now really got to me. I was trying my best to make conversation, but my greedy husband was only seeing dollar bills. Slowly, my sadness was getting replaced with anger. I immediately stood up and angrily said, "I have already told you that I am not going to work today. How many times do I have to tell you that before you accept it?" "You can keep saying that for as long as you want. I will never accept it. The baby is born and it's time for you to fulfill your promise." "Seriously, Tyler? You would make your physically exhausted wife go to work just for a stupid car? When did you become so shallow?" "I'm shallow? You were the one who promised me that car and failed to keep that promise. I've been waiting for a year now. I can't wait any longer. My friends are already laughing at me. I've given you enough time and now I expect the car as soon as possible." "I just need some time, Tyler. I already told you that I will give you the car. Most of my savings have been spent on baby stuff and you didn't even pay your portion. Just let me rest for 4 more weeks. After that, I will get back to work. Absolutely not, Myra. When I say you will go to work today, I mean it. I won't have you stay at home. You will either leave for work on your own accord or I will drag you out. I immediately put my foot down. I absolutely hated the way Tyler was speaking to me. I knew I had to put an end to it as soon as possible, so I stayed unmoving in my resolve and said, "No, I will not go to work. No matter how much that car means to you, I will not sacrifice my health for that stupid car." "So, you want me to do this the hard way? Very well. We will do this the hard way." "You can't force me to go to work, Tyler. That is wrong." I had hardly spoken the words out loud when I felt Tyler's hand at the back of my head. I immediately froze from surprise, and it took Tyler a second to grab my hair and drag me up. He had a painful grip on my hair which made me scream out loud. I was clawing at his fingers and trying to get him to leave me. But I was already weak and he was much stronger than me. I was screaming from pain and was really worried that he was going to hurt me. Tyler stayed impassive as he dragged me out of the house and pushed me out. He threw out my car keys and closed the door before I could get in. He told me that I would be allowed in the house as soon as I returned from work. I still don't have the full details of what happened next. I was already in a daze and was shaking and crying uncontrollably. I was also pretty concerned about my baby. Somehow, in my daze, I drove to my mother-in-law's house. I was such a mess that I don't even remember much of that. I just remember seeing Max and Vivian and just breaking down. Through my tears, I told them the entire story, which chilled them to the bone. Vivian comforted me while Max angrily called Tyler over the house. He was raging mad. I had never seen Max so mad before. When Tyler finally arrived, he was looking really flustered and concerned. I was still a crying mess. I saw Max grab Tyler by the collar and drag him in just like he had dragged me in. He was made to stand in front of us, and both Vivian and Luke screamed at him. Max said, "How dare you do this to your own wife, Tyler? This is not how we raised you. When did you get so greedy and toxic that you would hurt your own wife?" "Dad, I didn't do anything. I was just trying to help Myra get to work. I don't know what lies she's told you to get me in trouble." "How are you still lying to us, Tyler? My friend, who you left the baby with, is your neighbor. She saw everything and heard everything because you were that loud. She also saw you drag Myra by the hair. My friend said that she almost called the cops when she heard Myra screaming." "She must be exaggerating, Mom. I'm telling you, nothing like that happened. Myra wanted to go to work by her own will. I was just—" "Don't you dare lie in front of me, Tyler. No woman would go back to work one day after delivering a baby. I am in no condition to work. I don't even remember how I drove here." I couldn't believe that Tyler was trying to twist the story to make it seem like he didn't do anything. Thank God our neighbor saw everything. She had been a huge help during my pregnancy, and I trusted her because she was Vivian's friend. Her account made things even clearer. Max and Vivian were having none of Tyler's lies. They said, "How dare you try to turn the story, Tyler? We all know that didn't happen. My friend heard how you wanted Myra to go to work because you wanted a new car." "You physically abused your wife for a freaking car, Tyler? What on earth is wrong with you? I'm ashamed to call you my son." "Mom, Dad, you're overreacting. Myra had promised me the car, and she's the one being unfair to me. My friends are making fun of me for driving a beat-up car, and I—" "Oh, your friends are making fun of you, Tyler? Tell me then, what will be their reaction when they see you getting in a brand new police car?" "What? What are you talking about, Dad?" "We will be calling the cops and getting you arrested for domestic violence." Tyler's eyes went wide as he saw his mother calling the cops. He tried to get to her to snatch away her phone, but Max kept him subdued. While Vivian called the cops, Max had some more consequences for Tyler. Tyler said, No, you can't get your son arrested. You can't do this to your own child." I will not shelter a criminal and a wife-beater. Even if it is my son, you have disappointed us and done more damage than you could imagine. No, no, Dad, I can't go to jail. I'm your son. I'm your heir. We don't need an heir, Tyler. We are not that rich. Besides, I've decided to disinherit you as well. You don't deserve to be called our son, let alone get our assets. Everything will go to your child. Tyler just couldn't stomach what he heard. Vivian had already called the cops, who were on their way. Meanwhile, Tyler was crying and begging his parents not to cut him off or call the cops. He even begged me for forgiveness and tried to guilt-trip me into forgiving him. I simply stayed ice-cold and silent till the cops came. When the cops arrived, I told them that I would be pressing charges. It's been a while since Tyler and I got divorced. Yes, I divorced him for what he did to me. Besides, he was already being a bad father, so I didn't want him around my kids. I got full custody due to the domestic violence case, and Tyler got 6 months of prison. He also paid a hefty fine for which he had to sell his old car. Now, I live with Max and Vivian, who have cut off Tyler for good. Tyler is now living the trailer life while working 2 jobs. He barely sends child support, and I am on my way to get his rights terminated. For now, I am safely surrounded by my in-laws, and my son is growing up healthy and loved. Pray for me so that I can get rid of his birth father and give him a new life with a bright future.